before the wheel, before writing, before the Great Pyramid was ever stacked stone by stone. Humans were already altering their own minds on purpose, not by accident, not once in a while, organized, repeated, and treated as sacred. Thousands of miles apart, on two different continents, ancient people in the Americas were reaching for the same kind of plant. For the same reason, long before they had any way to write down why. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru sits a place called Guitarrero Cave. When archaeologists dug through its layers, they found the dried, fossilized remains of a tall, spiny cactus. Carbon dating placed those remains at over 8,000 years old, some estimates pushing closer to 9,000. The plant is called San Pedro, and to the people who used it, it wasn't food, it was a doorway. San Pedro contains a compound called mescaline, a naturally occurring hallucinogen that alters perception, sound, and sense of self. In nature, this chemical exists to punish anything that eats the cactus, a defense mechanism meant to disorient predators. But somewhere along the way, one species did the opposite of running away. Humans didn't avoid the effect. They sought it out, refined how they used it, and eventually built entire belief systems around it. Here's where it stops looking like an isolated habit and starts looking like organized belief. At a temple site in Peru called Chavín de Huántar, archaeologists found a carved stone figure dating back roughly 1300 BCE, over 3,000 years ago. The carving shows a fanged, clawed shaman-like figure gripping a San Pedro cactus in its hand. This wasn't hidden. It wasn't secret. It was carved into the wall of one of the most important temples in the ancient Andes, which tells us this plant wasn't just tolerated. It was central to how these people understood the sacred. Now travel roughly 4,000 miles north to the caves of the Lower Pecos region in Texas. Completely different landscape, completely different people. But archaeologists found something strangely familiar. Small red seeds from a plant called the mescal bean, buried in cave floors in layer after layer, some dating back roughly 8 to 10,000 years. Painted directly onto the canyon walls nearby. Elaborate shaman-like figures, some researchers believe are among the oldest ritual artwork in North America. And it wasn't a one-time find. The seeds appear in cultural layer after cultural layer, spanning thousands of years of continuous use by different generations, which means two completely unconnected groups of people, thousands of miles apart, independently arrived at the same conclusion. Certain plants could open a door in the mind, and that door was worth returning to generation after generation. Here's a detail almost never mentioned in the usual retelling of this story. Researchers studying a 1,000-year-old ritual bundle from the highland Andes found residue from multiple different psychoactive plants inside it. Not just one. Some of those plants, like a vine used in ceremonial brews, don't even grow anywhere near where the bundle was found. They only grow deep in the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of miles away, which means someone carried them deliberately across incredibly difficult terrain, purely because of what these plants could do to the mind. Long before there were roads, long before there was currency, people were already running a trade network for access to altered states of consciousness. And there's one more layer to this story, a heavier one. Archaeologists studying the remains of ancient sacrificial victims in the Andes found something troubling in their systems, traces of San Pedro, along with other psychoactive plants present shortly before death. Researchers believe these substances may have been given deliberately, possibly to ease fear, alter perception, or prepare the mind for what was coming. It's a difficult detail, but it shows just how deeply these plants were woven into how ancient societies understood life, death, and everything considered sacred in between. Step back and look at the timeline. Organized, symbolic, plant-based ritual in two separate regions of the Americas, dating back roughly 8 to 10,000 years. That's older than the Great Pyramid of Giza, older than the wheel, older than any system of writing found anywhere on the American continent. Which means, in the Americas, the human hunger to alter consciousness on purpose wasn't a byproduct of civilization. It may have been one of the very first organized systems these societies ever built. So why don't more people know this? Partly because plant material rarely survives. Stone carvings and pyramids last for thousands of years. Dried leaves, seeds, and cactus flesh almost never do. Every discovery we do have is a rare accident of preservation. A handful of caves dry enough and undisturbed enough to keep the evidence intact for thousands of years, which means the real timeline of when humans first altered their minds on purpose is almost certainly even older than what we've found so far. So the next time someone calls the search for altered states of mind a modern problem, remember Guitarrero Cave. Remember the canyon walls of Texas. Remember that thousands of years before anyone could write the word sacred, humans had already decided some plants were exactly that. The question was never whether humans would search for a door into the unknown. It's how far back that search actually goes, and how much of it we'll never get to see.